A day that changed everything. Rebecca Thompson sat in the corner booth of Riverside Coffee House, staring blankly at her untouched cappuccino. The foam had already begun to settle, much like the weight of reality pressing down on her shoulders. Today had been the worst day of her professional life, and that was saying something considering the year she had endured. The morning had started normally enough. She had arrived at Pinnacle Media Group at her usual time, carrying the presentation she had worked on until 3 in the morning. The Henderson account was huge, potentially worth millions to the company. Rebecca had poured her heart into creating the perfect campaign strategy. She knew every slide, every statistic, every creative angle by memory, but when she walked into the conference room, everything fell apart. Her supervisor, Gregory Walsh, was already presenting her ideas to the clients. Her ideas. Word for word, slide for slide, he was taking credit for months of her work. Rebecca had stood frozen in the doorway, watching in disbelief as he smoothly delivered her pitch, received applause, and shook hands with the impressed clients. When she confronted him afterward, Gregory had smiled that oily smile of his and said, "Welcome to the real world, Thompson, your junior level. Nobody cares whose ideas they are. They care about who presents them." She had gone straight to human resources, but the HR director, Gregory's golfing buddy, had dismissed her complaints as sour grapes. By noon, Rebecca found herself called into a meeting where she was told her position was being eliminated due to restructuring. The severance package was insultingly small, and the message was clear. She was being pushed out for making waves. The coffee shop refuge now, 6 hours later, Rebecca sat in this coffee shop trying to process what had happened. She had updated her resume, sent it to 15 companies, and felt utterly drained. Her savings would last maybe 2 months if she was careful. The thought of starting over, of proving herself again, felt overwhelming. "Excuse me? Is this seat taken?" Rebecca looked up to see a man standing beside her booth. He was tall, probably in his mid-30s, with dark hair and warm brown eyes. He wore a casual navy sweater and jeans, looking relaxed and approachable. His smile was genuine, the kind that actually reached his eyes. "The place is pretty crowded," he continued, gesturing around the busy coffee shop. "Mind if I share your table? I promise I'm a quiet coffee drinker." Rebecca glanced around. He was right. Every other seat was taken. But she really was not in the mood for company, especially not from someone who probably wanted to chat her up. "Actually, I do mind," she said flatly. "There are other places to get coffee." The man blinked, surprised by her bluntness. "Oh, I didn't mean to intrude. I just thought, since there's room." "Look," Rebecca interrupted, her frustration from the day boiling over. "I've had the absolute worst day of my life. I'm not interested in small talk. I'm not interested in being hit on. And I'm definitely not interested in sharing my space with some guy who thinks a crowded coffee shop is a good pickup opportunity." His expression shifted from friendly to taken aback. "I wasn't trying to pick you up. I genuinely just needed a place to sit and work on my laptop." Rebecca felt a tiny pang of guilt but pushed it away. "Well, find another spot. I'm sure someone as charming as you can convince someone else to share." Words that cut the man stood there for a moment, and Rebecca saw something flicker in his eyes. Hurt, maybe? Or disappointment? But then he nodded slowly. "I apologize for bothering you," he said quietly. "I hope your day gets better." He turned and left the coffee shop entirely, the bell above the door chiming as he walked out into the evening drizzle. Rebecca watched him go, then immediately felt worse. He had seemed genuinely nice, and she had been unnecessarily cruel. "Great job, Rebecca," she muttered to herself. "Add a horrible person to today's list of accomplishments." Her phone buzzed. An email notification. She opened it eagerly, hoping for a response to one of her job applications. It was from Brooks Digital Solutions, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the city. They wanted her to come in for an interview tomorrow morning. Rebecca felt a surge of hope for the first time all day. Brooks Digital Solutions was known for its innovative marketing campaigns and progressive workplace culture. Getting a position there would be a major step up from Pinnacle Media Group. This could be exactly the fresh start she needed. She quickly replied, confirming her availability, then gathered her things. As she left the coffee shop, she tried to shake off the guilt about the man she had dismissed. He was a stranger. She would never see him again. There was no point dwelling on one awkward interaction, when she had a potentially life-changing interview to prepare for. Preparing for a new beginning that evening, Rebecca researched everything she could find about Brooks Digital Solutions. The company had been founded 8 years ago and had rapidly become a major player in digital marketing and brand strategy. They handled accounts for Fortune 500 companies, innovative startups, and everyone in between. The CEO, Nathan Brooks, had started the company fresh out of business school with nothing but a laptop and a vision. Articles described him as brilliant but down-to-earth, demanding but fair. Employees gave the company high ratings for work-life balance and creative freedom. It sounded almost too good to be true. Rebecca studied their recent campaigns, memorized key company values, and prepared answers to potential interview questions. She picked out her most professional outfit, a charcoal gray suit with a cream blouse, and set 3 alarms to make sure she would not oversleep. As she climbed into bed that night, Rebecca felt cautiously optimistic. Yes, today had been terrible. Yes, she had probably been ruder than necessary to that stranger at the coffee shop, but tomorrow was a new opportunity. Tomorrow she could start rebuilding her career at a company that might actually value her contributions. She had no way of knowing that the stranger from the coffee shop and her fresh start were about to collide in the most unexpected way possible. The morning of truth, Rebecca arrived at Brooks Digital Solutions headquarters 15 minutes early. The building was modern and welcoming, with glass walls, open spaces, and employees who actually seemed happy to be there. The reception area featured comfortable seating, vibrant artwork, and a coffee bar that put Riverside Coffee House to shame. Rebecca Thompson, a young woman with a tablet, approached her. "I'm Jennifer Park, Talent Acquisition Coordinator. Welcome to Brooks Digital Solutions." "Thank you," Rebecca said, shaking her hand. "I'm excited to be here." "We're excited to meet you. Your portfolio is impressive." Jennifer led her through security and into an elevator. "We'll start with a brief tour, then you'll meet with the marketing director and a few team members. If all goes well, Mr. Brooks likes to personally meet promising candidates." Rebecca's heart skipped. Meeting the CEO during a first interview was unusual, but could be a very good sign. As they walked through the office, she noted the collaborative workspaces, the enthusiastic energy, and the diversity of the staff. This was exactly the kind of environment she had dreamed of working in. The interviews went exceptionally well. The marketing director, Patricia Holmes, was sharp and engaging. The team members asked thoughtful questions about her approach to campaigns and seemed genuinely interested in her ideas. By the time they finished, Rebecca felt confident she had made a strong impression. "Mr. Brooks would like to meet you now," Jennifer said, leading her down a hallway toward the executive offices. "He makes the final decision on all senior marketing positions." Rebecca smoothed her suit jacket and followed, her mind racing through everything she wanted to say. This was her chance. She could not mess this up. Jennifer knocked on a door marked Nathan Brooks, Chief Executive Officer, and opened it. "Mr. Brooks, Rebecca Thompson is here." "Send her in," came a familiar voice from inside. Rebecca stepped into the office, her prepared greeting dying on her lips as she saw who sat behind the desk. It was him, the man from the coffee shop. The man she had rudely dismissed and insulted. The man she had accused of trying to pick her up. Nathan Brooks looked up from his computer, and their eyes met. Recognition flashed across his face instantly, followed by something unreadable. Rebecca felt the blood drain from her face. Of all the companies in this city, of all the interviews she could have gotten, it had to be here. With him, the universe had a cruel sense of humor. "Miss Thompson," Nathan said, his voice professionally neutral. He stood and extended his hand across the desk. "Please have a seat." Rebecca somehow managed to move forward and shake his hand. His grip was firm, professional, giving away nothing about whether he remembered their encounter or how he felt about it. "Thank you for meeting with me, Mr. Brooks," she managed to say, her voice steadier than she felt, as she sat down across. From him, Rebecca realized her fresh start had just become infinitely more complicated. The meeting that changed everything. Rebecca sat across from Nathan Brooks, her heart pounding so loudly she was certain he could hear it. The office was spacious and modern, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Normally, she would have been impressed by the view, but right now all she could focus on was the man studying her resume. With careful attention, he looked different in this setting. More polished, more authoritative. The casual sweater and jeans from yesterday had been replaced by a crisp white shirt and dark slacks. His hair was neatly styled, and he wore thin-frame glasses that made him look even more intelligent. This was Nathan Brooks, the CEO, not the friendly stranger she had dismissed so cruelly. "Your portfolio is quite impressive," Nathan said, finally looking up from the papers. His expression was neutral, professional. "Patricia tells me you have some innovative ideas about integrated marketing campaigns." "Thank you," Rebecca replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I believe in creating campaigns that tell authentic stories. Consumers today can spot fake marketing from a mile away. They want genuine connections with brands." Nathan nodded, leaning back in his chair. "I agree completely. That's the philosophy we've built this company on." He paused, and for just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Recognition? Amusement? Rebecca could not tell. "I have to ask Miss Thompson," he continued, and her stomach dropped. "Why did you leave Pinnacle Media Group? Your resume shows you were there for 3 years." Rebecca had prepared for this question, but sitting across from him made everything more difficult. She decided to be honest. Lying to this man, especially after yesterday, felt wrong. "I was let go," she said simply. "My supervisor took credit for my work on a major account. When I reported it to HR, they sided with him. By the end of the day, I was told my position was being eliminated." Nathan's jaw tightened slightly. "That must have been difficult." "It was the worst day I've had in a long time," Rebecca said, then immediately regretted the words. That was what she had told him yesterday, right before she had been horrible to him. The unspoken acknowledgement, a brief silence fell between them. Nathan picked up a pen and tapped it lightly against his desk, clearly thinking. Rebecca held her breath, waiting for him to mention their encounter. To call her out, to end this interview, and send her away. Instead, he said, "We don't tolerate that kind of behavior here. Every team member gets credit for their contributions. I built this company on the belief that talent deserves recognition, regardless of hierarchy or politics." Rebecca felt a wave of relief mixed with confusion. Was he going to pretend yesterday never happened? Or was he being professional enough to separate a bad moment from a business decision? "That means a lot to hear," she said carefully. "I've always believed that the best work comes from environments where people feel valued." Nathan nodded. "Tell me about a campaign you're most proud of. Something that showcases your creative approach." For the next 20 minutes, they discussed marketing strategies, brand positioning, and campaign analytics. Rebecca found herself relaxing slightly as they talked. Nathan was incredibly knowledgeable, asking insightful questions that made her think deeply about her approaches. He challenged her ideas not to tear them down, but to strengthen them. It was the kind of intellectual engagement she had always craved, but rarely found. "Your approach is exactly what we need for our upcoming project," Nathan said finally. "We've just signed a client in the sustainable fashion industry. They want to rebrand completely, appeal to younger consumers without losing their established customer base. It's a challenging balance." "That sounds amazing," Rebecca said, genuine excitement creeping into her voice. "Sustainability is such an important message right now, but it needs to be authentic. Too many companies use it as a buzzword without real commitment." "Precisely." Nathan smiled for the first time since she had entered the office, and Rebecca felt her heart skip unexpectedly. It was a good smile, warm and genuine. "Which is why I think you'd be perfect for this project." Rebecca blinked. "Are you offering me the position?" "I am," Nathan confirmed. "Pending the standard background check and references, of course. But based on your portfolio, your interview performance, and the recommendations from Patricia and the team, I'd like you to join Brooks Digital Solutions as our senior marketing strategist." The weight of gratitude and guilt. Rebecca felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. Just yesterday, she had lost everything. Today, she was being offered a dream job at a company she admired. And the man offering it to her was the same man she had treated terribly at the coffee shop. "Mr. Brooks," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "I don't know what to say. This is more than I hoped for." "You earned it based on your merit," Nathan replied firmly. "Your work speaks for itself." Rebecca took a deep breath. She had to address the elephant in the room. She could not start this job with this secret hanging between them. "I need to apologize," she said quietly. "For yesterday, at the coffee shop. I was rude and dismissive, and you were just being kind. I'm truly sorry." Nathan was quiet for a moment. Then he set down his pen and looked directly at her. "You were having the worst day of your life. You weren't in the right headspace for a stranger's interruption, even a well-meaning one. I understand that. It's generous of you. But it doesn't excuse my behavior," Rebecca insisted. "You deserved better than how I treated you." "Apology accepted," Nathan said simply. "Now, let's move forward. I don't hold grudges, Miss Thompson, and I certainly don't make hiring decisions based on brief personal interactions. You're here because you're talented, not because of or in spite of what happened yesterday." Rebecca felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "Thank you. That means more than you know. Can you start Monday?" Nathan asked, shifting back to business mode. "I know it's quick, but we need someone on this project as soon as possible." "Absolutely." Rebecca agreed without hesitation. "Excellent. Jennifer will handle all the paperwork and orientation details." Nathan stood, extending his hand once more. "Welcome to Brooks Digital Solutions, Ms. Thompson. I think you're going to do great things here." As Rebecca shook his hand, she felt a strange flutter in her chest. His hand was warm, his grip confident, but not overpowering. She found herself noticing details she should not be noticing about her new boss. The small scar near his left eyebrow, the kindness in his eyes, the way his smile made the corners of his eyes crinkle. She quickly pushed those thoughts away. He was her boss. This was a professional relationship. Nothing more. The first week of New Beginnings Monday morning arrived bright and clear. Rebecca dressed in her favorite burgundy blouse and black slacks, professional but with a touch of personality. She arrived early, eager to make a good impression on her first official day. The onboarding process was smooth and welcoming. She got her security badge, laptop, and a tour of the office facilities. Her workspace was in an open area with the rest of the marketing team, but it had enough privacy for focused work. The desk even had a small plant on it, with a welcome note from Patricia. "Team meeting in 10 minutes, her new colleague James Rivera told her. Nathan likes to start Monday mornings with a full team sync. It keeps everyone aligned on priorities." Rebecca grabbed her notebook and followed James to a large conference room. The marketing team filed in, about 15 people total, all chatting casually. The atmosphere was relaxed, but professional, exactly what she had hoped for. Nathan entered right at 9 o'clock, carrying a coffee mug and a tablet. He smiled at the room, his eyes briefly meeting Rebecca's before moving on. "Good morning, everyone," he said, his voice carrying easily through the room. "Before we dive into updates, I want to introduce our newest team member. Rebecca Thompson joins us as Senior Marketing Strategist. She comes to us from Pinnacle Media Group with an impressive track record in brand development and campaign strategy." Everyone turned to look at her. Rebecca smiled and gave a small wave, feeling slightly self-conscious. "Rebecca will be leading the Greenleaf fashion account," Nathan continued. "It's a major project, and I'm confident she's going to bring fresh perspective to it. Please make her feel welcome and support her as she gets up to speed." The meeting continued with various team members giving updates on their projects. Rebecca was impressed by how Nathan led the discussion. He listened carefully, asked thoughtful questions, and gave constructive feedback without being harsh. He remembered details about each project and each team member, showing genuine interest in their work. When the meeting ended, several colleagues came up to introduce themselves properly. Everyone seemed friendly and genuinely happy to have her on the team. It was such a stark contrast to Pinnacle Media Group, where competition and backstabbing had been the norm. Working late and growing closer, the first week flew by in a blur of meetings, research, and creative brainstorming. The Greenleaf fashion account was even more challenging than Rebecca had expected. The company wanted to transition from traditional retail to a more sustainable, ethically sourced model. But they needed to do it without alienating their existing customers or seeming preachy to new ones. Rebecca dove into the work with passion. She analyzed market trends, studied competitor campaigns, and developed a strategy that focused on storytelling rather than preaching. She wanted to show the real people behind the clothes. the artisans and workers who benefited from fair trade practices, the environmental impact of choosing quality over quantity. By Friday evening, most of the office had cleared out, but Rebecca was still at her desk. Fine-tuning her initial presentation, she wanted to show Nathan and Patricia that hiring her had been the right decision. "You're still here?" Rebecca looked up to find Nathan standing by her desk, his jacket off and his sleeves rolled up. He looked tired but alert, like someone used to long hours. "Just finishing up some work on the Greenleaf presentation," she explained. "I want to make sure it's solid before I show it to Patricia on Monday." Nathan pulled up a chair and sat down beside her. "May I take a look?" Rebecca hesitated for only a second before turning her laptop so he could see the screen. Having the CEO review her work on her first week was nerve-wracking. But she trusted her ideas. Nathan scrolled through the slides slowly, reading each one carefully. His expression was focused, analytical. Rebecca watched him, trying to gauge his reaction. "This is excellent," he said finally, looking at her with genuine admiration. "The storytelling angle is perfect. You've managed to make sustainability feel personal rather than political." "That was exactly what I was going for," Rebecca said, relieved and pleased. "People don't want to be lectured. They want to feel connected to something meaningful." "You have a gift for understanding human motivation," Nathan observed. "That's rare in this field. Too many marketers focus on data and forget there are real people behind the numbers." "My psychology minor in college finally paying off," Rebecca joked. Nathan smiled. "Want some coffee?" "I was about to make a fresh pot. I've got a few more hours of work ahead of me." "Sure, that sounds great." They walked to the break room together. The office was quiet, with only the hum of computers and the distant sound of a cleaning crew on another floor. It felt strange to be alone with Nathan outside the formality of a meeting, but also comfortable in a way Rebecca had not expected. The conversation that shifted everything. "Do you always work this late?" Rebecca asked as Nathan started the coffee maker. "More often than I probably should," he admitted. "When you build a company from scratch, it's hard to let go. I know I have an excellent team, but I still feel responsible for every decision, every outcome. That must be exhausting." "It can be," Nathan agreed, "but it's also rewarding. I love what we've built here. The culture, the work, the impact we make for our clients. It's worth the long hours." The coffee finished brewing, and Nathan poured 2 mugs, handing one to Rebecca. They leaned against the counter, the comfortable silence stretching between them. "Can I ask you something?" Rebecca said after a moment. "Of course." "Why did you give me a chance?" "After the coffee shop, I mean, most people would have held that against me." Nathan considered the question carefully. "Because everyone has bad days. Everyone says things they don't mean when they're hurt or angry or overwhelmed. Judging someone's entire character based on one difficult moment wouldn't be fair. That's remarkably understanding." "I've had my share of bad days too," Nathan said with a slight smile. "I know what it's like to be at your breaking point. Besides, your work spoke for itself. Why would I let one awkward encounter overshadow clear talent?" Rebecca felt warmth spread through her chest. "Not many people think that way, and not many people are very good leaders," Nathan replied simply. They talked for another hour, the conversation flowing easily from work to life, to dreams and challenges. Rebecca learned that Nathan had started his company after watching his father get pushed out of a corporate job. Despite decades of loyal service, he had wanted to create something different, a place where loyalty and talent were rewarded, where people were treated as people rather than disposable resources. Rebecca shared her own story. About growing up in a small town in Ohio, about her mother who had worked 3 jobs to send her to college, about her determination to build a career that would make her proud. "Your mother sounds like an incredible woman," Nathan said. "She is. She taught me to never give up, no matter how hard things get." "That's good advice." As they walked back to their desks, Rebecca felt something shift between them. This was not just a boss and employee relationship anymore. There was a friendship forming, a connection that went beyond professional courtesy. And if she was being honest with herself, there was also an attraction she knew she should not acknowledge. Nathan was handsome, intelligent, kind, and everything she had ever wanted in a partner. But he was also her boss, and that made him completely off limits. She would have to be very careful to keep her feelings professional. What she did not know was that Nathan was having similar thoughts. In the same internal debate, the project that brought them together 3 weeks into her new position. Rebecca was thriving at Brooks Digital Solutions. The Greenleaf fashion campaign was coming together beautifully, and she had earned the respect of her entire team. Patricia had even mentioned that Nathan was impressed with her progress, which made Rebecca feel proud and nervous in equal measure. The campaign required extensive research trips, and on a Tuesday morning, Nathan announced he would be joining Rebecca and 2 other team members on a visit to Greenleaf's main production facility upstate. "I want to see firsthand how they operate," Nathan explained during the team meeting. "If we're going to tell their story authentically, we need to understand every aspect of their business." The drive to the facility took 3 hours. Nathan drove his own car rather than using a company vehicle. With Rebecca in the passenger seat and James and another colleague, Angela Chen, in the back. The conversation was light and easy, touching on everything from favorite restaurants to debate about the best coffee shops in the city. "Definitely not Riverside Coffee House?" Nathan said with a meaningful glance at Rebecca. She felt her cheeks warm but smiled. "Agreed. Their coffee is mediocre at best." The facility tour was eye-opening. They met the designers, the pattern makers, and the seamstresses who created each piece with care and skill. The working conditions were excellent, the pay was fair, and the pride the workers took in their craft was evident. This was exactly the kind of story Rebecca wanted to tell. During lunch with the facility manager, Rebecca found herself sitting next to Nathan. Their arms brushed occasionally, and each time she felt a jolt of awareness that she tried to ignore. She noticed small things about him, the way he listened intently when others spoke, how he asked questions that showed he genuinely cared, the laugh lines around his eyes that appeared when he smiled. "This place is amazing," Rebecca said quietly to him. "The campaign practically writes itself." "Your vision was right on target," Nathan replied, his voice equally quiet. "You understood what they were about before you even saw it." Their eyes met, and for a moment the busy cafeteria seemed to fade away. There was something in his gaze that made Rebecca's breath catch, something warm and interested and dangerous. She looked away first, reminding herself of all the reasons this could not happen. The evening that changed everything. The drive back to the city took longer due to traffic. By the time they dropped off James and Angela at the office, it was nearly 8 o'clock. Nathan pulled up to the curb and turned to Rebecca. "Okay, I can give you a ride home if you want." "Save you the subway trip?" Rebecca knew she should say no. Knew that spending more time alone with him was asking for trouble. But she was tired, and the thought of the crowded subway was unappealing. "That would be great, thank you." They drove through the city streets as dusk settled into night. The buildings lit up one by one, creating a glittering skyline. Rebecca gave Nathan her address, and he navigated smoothly through the traffic. "Thank you for including me today," Rebecca said. "Seeing the facility really helped me understand the heart of the brand." "You were the obvious choice to bring," Nathan replied. "This is your project. You should be the one with the deepest understanding of it." They fell into comfortable silence, but the air in the car felt charged somehow, heavy with things unsaid. Rebecca was acutely aware of how close they were in the confined space, of the subtle scent of his cologne, of the way the streetlights played across his profile. When they reached her building, Nathan pulled into a parking spot rather than just stopping at the curb. "Rebecca," he said, and something in his tone made her pulse quicken. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." He turned to face her fully, and in the dim light of the car, his expression was serious. "Do you feel it too?" Rebecca's heart hammered against her ribs. She could pretend not to understand what he meant. She could laugh it off, deflect, maintain the professional boundary they were supposed to have. Instead, she heard herself whisper, "Yes." Nathan closed his eyes briefly, as if her answer caused him both relief and pain. "I've been trying to ignore it, trying to convince myself it's just admiration for a talented colleague. But I can't anymore, Nathan." "We can't," Rebecca said, even as everything in her wanted to reach for him. "You're my boss. It's completely inappropriate. I know, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Believe me, I know all the reasons this is a terrible idea. But I can't stop thinking about you. When you walk into a room, you're the only person I see. When you speak, everything else fades away. And it's driving me crazy. Rebecca felt tears prick at her eyes. I feel the same way. But that doesn't change reality. If people found out, they would say I got my job because of this, that I don't deserve to be here. Everything I've worked for would be questioned. Your talent is undeniable, Nathan said fiercely. Anyone who questions your abilities is a fool. But they would question it anyway, Rebecca insisted. You know they would. Office relationships are complicated enough. When one person has power over the other's career, it becomes impossible. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, his hands gripping the steering wheel. You're right. Of course you're right. I just needed you to know. I needed to say it out loud, even if we can never act on it. Rebecca reached out and placed her hand over his. The contact sent electricity through her entire body. Thank you for being honest. And for understanding why we can't. The rumor that spread like wildfire they tried to maintain distance after that night. Rebecca threw herself into work, and Nathan made sure they were never alone together. But the awareness was always there. Simmering beneath every professional interaction, the Greenleaf campaign launched 6 weeks later to tremendous success. The authentic storytelling resonated with consumers, and sales increased by 40% in the first month. Greenleaf's CEO was thrilled, and Brooks Digital Solutions gained significant industry recognition for the innovative approach. Rebecca was the toast of the office. Her colleagues congratulated her, Patricia praised her in meetings, and Nathan sent a company-wide email highlighting her achievement. It should have been the perfect moment of professional triumph. Then the rumors started. It began with whispers in the break room, sidelong glances when Rebecca walked past. At first, she dismissed it as paranoia. But then her colleague Angela pulled her aside one afternoon with a concerned expression. Rebecca, I need to tell you something. People are talking. About what? Angela looked uncomfortable. About you and Nathan. Someone saw you two in his car that night after the facility visit. They're saying that's why you got the Greenleaf account, why the campaign was such a priority. Rebecca felt sick. Nothing happened. He just gave me a ride home. I believe you, Angela said quickly. But you know how offices are. People love drama, and they jump to conclusions. The next few days were awful. Rebecca could feel the judgment everywhere she went. Conversations stopped when she entered rooms. People who had been friendly became distant. Someone left a printed article about workplace relationships on her desk. With certain passages highlighted, the worst part was knowing that despite the rumors being based on speculation, there was truth underneath. She did have feelings for Nathan. And even though they had never acted on them, the connection between them was real. The HR investigation in Friday afternoon, Rebecca was called to a meeting with Human Resources. The director, Michael Foster, sat behind his desk with a serious expression. Ms. Thompson, we've received some concerns from staff members about your relationship with Mr. Brooks. I need to ask you directly, are you involved in a romantic or intimate relationship with the CEO? Rebecca's mouth went dry. No, Nathan and I are not in a relationship. But you have spent time together outside of work. He gave me a ride home once after a work trip. That's all. McCall made notes on his tablet. I want to be clear that Brooks Digital Solutions has strict policies about relationships between supervisors and their direct reports. If such a relationship exists, one of you would need to transfer to a different department or leave the company. I understand the policy, Rebecca said, trying to keep her voice steady. But I'm telling you, there is no romantic relationship. The appearance of impropriety can be just as damaging as actual impropriety, Michael said carefully. Other employees feel that you've received preferential treatment. The perception affects team morale. I earned my position here, Rebecca said, anger rising in her voice. I got the Greenleaf account because my ideas were the best fit. The campaign succeeded because I worked incredibly hard on it. I don't doubt your abilities, Michael assured her. But we need to address the concerns that have been raised. I'm going to recommend that you transfer to a different team, purporting to Patricia, instead of Nathan directly. That should alleviate the appearance of any conflict of interest. Rebecca wanted to argue, but she knew it was pointless. The damage was already done. The confrontation that exposed the truth that evening. Rebecca stayed late at the office, staring at her computer screen without really seeing it. Most people had gone home, leaving the floor quiet and dim. She heard footsteps and looked up to see Nathan approaching her desk. "Angela told me about the HR meeting," he said without preamble. "I'm sorry, Rebecca. This is my fault. It's not your fault that people have active imaginations. I should have been more careful. Should have maintained better boundaries." Nathan ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "I never wanted to put your career at risk." "You didn't put anything at risk," Rebecca said firmly. "We didn't do anything wrong." "But we wanted to," Nathan said quietly, looking directly at her. "And maybe people sensed that. Maybe it was obvious to everyone except us." Before Rebecca could respond, footsteps echoed across the floor. Gregory Walsh, her former supervisor from Pinnacle Media Group, emerged from the elevator. Rebecca's stomach dropped. What was he doing here? Well, Gregory said with an ugly smile. "Isn't this cozy? The Golden Girl and her CEO boyfriend, working late together? What are you doing here, Walsh?" Nathan's voice was cold. "I'm here for a meeting with your competitor, actually. But I couldn't resist stopping by when I heard the rumors." Rebecca Thompson, sleeping her way to the top. "Some things never change." "Get out," Nathan said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Now, the truth hurts, doesn't it?" Gregory continued, clearly enjoying himself. "She did the same thing at Pinnacle. Got close to management, stole other people's work. When that didn't pan out, she played the victim and moved on to the next opportunity. That's a lie." Rebecca stood up, her hands shaking with rage. "You stole my work. You took credit for months of my effort," says the woman who can't keep her personal life separate from professional ambition. Nathan stepped between them, his body language protective. "You have 30 seconds to leave this building, or I'll have security escort you out and file a harassment complaint." Gregory smirked, but started backing toward the elevator. "Enjoy your moment, Rebecca. Everyone will know the truth eventually. You're nothing but a fraud." When the elevator doors closed behind him, Rebecca sank back into her chair, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. All the stress and frustration and fear of the past weeks came pouring out. Nathan knelt beside her chair, his hand gentle on her shoulder. "He's wrong. Everything he said was wrong. People believe it," Rebecca sobbed. "They think I used you to get ahead. They think I don't deserve to be here. Then we'll prove them wrong," Nathan said firmly. "Together. It's the decision that risked everything." Rebecca looked at him through her tears. "How? The rumors won't stop. Even if we transfer me to another department, people will still believe what they want to believe." Nathan was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke, his voice was filled with determination. "Then maybe we should give them something real to talk about." "What do you mean?" He took both her hands in his. "I'm tired of pretending I don't care about you. I'm tired of hiding how I feel. I know it's complicated. I know it goes against every professional rule in the book. But I don't want to lose you, Rebecca. Not to rumors, not to fear, not to other people's opinions." "Nathan, you could lose your company, could lose the love of my life," he countered. "Which loss do you think would hurt more?" Rebecca's breath caught. "Love." "Yes, love," Nathan said, his eyes never leaving hers. "I'm in love with you. I've probably been in love with you since that day in the coffee shop when you told me off. And I know the timing is terrible and the situation is impossible. But I'm done lying about it." Rebecca felt something break open inside her. All the feelings she had been suppressing flooding to the surface. "I love you too, but I'm terrified of what this means." "So am I," Nathan admitted. "But I'd rather face it together than spend my life wondering what might have been." He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. Rebecca didn't pull away. She met him halfway, and when their lips finally touched, it felt like coming home. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, as if they were both afraid the moment might shatter. But then it deepened, becoming more urgent, more real. Rebecca threaded her fingers through his hair, and Nathan pulled her closer. Years of suppressed longing pouring into that single moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Nathan rested his forehead against hers. "Whatever happens next, we face it together," he said. "I'll talk to the board, to HR, to anyone who has concerns. I'll make sure everyone knows you earned your position based on merit. And if they can't accept that, if they force me to choose between the company and you, I choose you." "You can't mean that," Rebecca whispered. "I've never been more serious about anything in my life." The path forward the next week was a whirlwind. Nathan met with the board of directors and was completely honest about his relationship with Rebecca. He provided documentation of her work, testimonials from team members, and evidence that every decision regarding her employment had been based on professional merit, not personal feelings. The board was concerned about the optics, but ultimately agreed that both Nathan and Rebecca had conducted themselves ethically. They mandated that Rebecca officially transfer to Patricia's direct supervision to eliminate any appearance of impropriety. And they required both of them to complete ethics training about workplace relationships. Rebecca met with every member of her team individually, addressing the rumors head-on. She showed them her work from before she had even met Nathan, her portfolio from Pinnacle Media Group, the creative process behind the Greenleaf campaign. Most people were supportive once they understood the full story. A few remained skeptical, but Rebecca knew she could win them over with continued excellent work. The hardest meeting was with Gregory Walsh's former colleagues at Pinnacle. Nathan helped Rebecca gather evidence of the idea theft that had led to her firing. When confronted with documentation, emails, and time-stamped files, Pinnacle's leadership was forced to acknowledge that Gregory had stolen her work. They offered Rebecca her old job back with a significant raise and a public apology. She turned them down. She had found something better at Brooks Digital Solutions. And not just the job, the happy endings. 6 months later, Rebecca stood in front of the entire company at their annual meeting, presenting the results of a year that had seen record growth in multiple industry awards. The Greenleaf campaign had won Best Integrated Marketing Campaign at the National Advertising Awards. And Rebecca had been named Rising Star of the Year by Marketing Magazine as she finished her presentation to thunderous applause. She caught Nathan's eye from across the room. He smiled at her with such pride and love that her heart swelled. After the meeting, as people mingled and celebrated, Nathan found her on the rooftop terrace overlooking the city. The same city where this had all begun with a bad day and a chance encounter at a coffee shop. "You were brilliant up there," Nathan said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "I had a good teacher," Rebecca replied, leaning back against him. "Someone who believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. You did all the hard work. I just gave you the opportunity." Rebecca turned in his arms to face him. "You gave me more than that. You gave me a place where my talent was valued, where honesty was rewarded, where I could be myself. You gave me everything." "You gave me something too," Nathan said softly. "You reminded me why I started this company in the first place. Not just to be successful, but to create something meaningful. To build something worth fighting for." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Rebecca's eyes widened. "I know it's only been 6 months," Nathan said, opening the box to reveal a simple but elegant ring. "And I know we've already broken enough rules for one lifetime. But I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to build a future together, not just a relationship. So, Rebecca Thompson, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Rebecca's face as she nodded. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." As Nathan slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her under the stars, Rebecca thought about how far she had come. From the worst day of her life to the best moment. All because she had been brave enough to start over, to take a chance, to believe in herself even when others doubted. And it had all started with rejecting a compliment from a stranger. In a coffee shop, never realizing he was a powerful CEO who would change her life forever. But more importantly, he was just Nathan, the man who saw her, valued her, and loved her for exactly who she was. And that was worth more than any job title or professional success. Together, they had proven that love and career could coexist, that professional boundaries could be respected while personal feelings were honored, and that sometimes the most unexpected encounters led to the most beautiful destinations. Their story became legendary at Brooks Digital Solutions, not as a cautionary tale about workplace romance, but as a testament to integrity, hard work, and the courage to fight for what truly matters. And whenever new employees asked about the famous couple who ran the company, they were told the truth. It started with a bad day, a coffee shop, and two people brave enough to choose love over fear.